Well, hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about this really cool terrain I made and all the details and interesting ways I've used blocks in it. Now, the first thing I want to mention is I am not a terraforming expert. In fact, when it comes down to building, I am the worst at terraforming. What is probably my least best skill. That or making trees. I suck at making trees. Don't ever ask me to build a tree. I mean, it's the one thing all builders should know, but I don't know it, so it's great, just great. But when it comes down to terraforming, it is something I want to learn, and it's really useful for building, because, like, you know, there's a lot of builds, but then a lot of people just go, if it's not in a cool terrain, it doesn't look good, so all my builds suck. Great. Another thing I wanted to say is that I did this trying to get the survival experience from it. So I didn't really fly whilst I was making the base terrain area because I don't do a lot of survival building. That's another thing I just thought was interesting and thought, hey, I'll try this out. And in the end, it wasn't too dissimilar to building in creative because I just made a load of tricks to make it work well. And actually it was pretty easy and it was pretty fun, especially since I was listening to like some live stream in the background. Now, one thing I was glad about in this video or this terrain was that how easy it was to transform regular texturing into texturing on like a terrain. I thought it would be kind of difficult because usually you're texturing like with quite solid shapes and quite solid colors when you're using bigger builds, and like you need smoother ones for terrain, but no, it just transfers over really easily, so I'm really happy that worked out well. Also, I would like to mention that later on in this video I'm going to be talking about some of the ways that I use blocks in unconventional ways, and it's quite interesting to look into, especially if you want to learn how to build, because those are the things that you need to know. One interesting thing to take account of here is how the textures wrap around the terrain and how they're on the terrain. So the most obvious bit would be where the stone textures are. It isn't just dirt there. It's stone, obviously, because that's where the terrain has changed and where it's been pulled up. But a more interesting way is around the lake or around the ocean area. You can see how it's become dirtier in areas, and later on you'll see how I've made the grass look a little damp around the area too, and it helps really cement the idea that that's a lake. It hasn't just been built there, but it's been there for quite a while. And here comes the tree. Bum bum bum. Yep, I suck at trees, and you'll be able to see that in a moment. I want to learn to do trees. They're very difficult, and if you know how to build a tree, put it in the comments below, because I really suck at them. I know the basic rules, like it's like 60% air, 40% leaves, or whatever it was, something along those lines, but you have that design that other people are able to do, and I really want to be able to copy that. So, you know, I'm going to keep on practicing making trees, obviously, but you know, one thing interesting thing about building, and one thing that you always need to learn in basically everything, is if you keep on continuing doing something, eventually you're going to get it right. So then, how can we use blocks in weird ways in Minecraft? Well, the first one that I created myself, and I've been using a lot recently, has been glass. That little thing that's never used in the game, in any build, ever. Glass. No, but you can use glass in really weird ways in Minecraft, and I don't see people using it. Which is weird, because it can be used in, like, really cool ways, too. Like flowers here. Those flowers, from afar, maybe not so much up close, but from afar, it brings a lot of colour and a lot of differentiation into it. I say that a lot, but I don't think I know what it means. But yeah, you can see here that, you know, this brings that colour and that level of detail that you just don't get with like regular flowers. If I were to remove all this glass, then you remove a big section of it, and I think it looks really cool. And another thing I've used it here is to smooth out these green corners, and maybe you wouldn't notice them, maybe you wouldn't. It doesn't really matter too much, but it helps to create a more smooth indent on the atmosphere or the area, rather than just having constant jutting out blocks, and I think that works really well. And another place I've used glass is on this tree here. This is where it's like the best. You don't see it too much, and it's not really too visible, but it helps smooth out that transition between that and the longer branch. Now, I'm not great at making trees, and that might be a little obvious here. This guy looks more like a hand reaching up into the sky that's got lots and lots of fingers. It's an AI generated hand, basically, but it works really well, especially with this glass and how it transitions into the block, and you know, it helps really well. And I'm surprised more people don't use glass, because it's like so useful. I've like used it so much recently and I just don't realise why other people don't. Another thing that's useful to mention is the blocks you're using to texture and make your builds. Like look at this here, this stone texture uses wool, concrete powder and terracotta, 3 things that are really not stone, although terracotta might be a stone, I don't know. But still, you know, you've got those there, and on top of this, all the grass uses lots of terracotta and concrete in it, which I know isn't grass, I think. I'm not too smart. But with these, yeah, it looks really cool, and it helps create that wet, damp atmosphere that I'm going for with this grass, and it helps make the grass look trodden down in the areas where people have stepped over it, especially with this water area up here. And, you know, you get that effect, but, you know, these really aren't grass blocks. And if you confine yourself to using grass blocks, then you're going to lose a lot of detail that you could have used. And if we journey over here again, you can see I've used the glass quite a while ago on this little dripping thing. This is where I came up with using it like that. And one final thing, guys, just to say, is that every single block in the game is a decorating block. And I probably should have started off by saying this, but yeah, even anvils, hoppers, cauldrons, and blast furnaces, yeah, there's a blast furnace, are all detailing blocks. Literally every single block in the game can be used to detail something in some sort of manner if you can think hard enough. And yeah, you know, all bases, all designs, everything you're ever going to make, you can bring it back to any block in the game. And it's really useful to know this stuff, because if you don't know that stuff as a builder, you're really limiting yourself. And it's really useful to know this stuff too, because you can create some really awesome things. One last thing, just want to brag about something. This this cliff face texture thing, absolutely smashing texture on my part. I thought that looked so cool. I still do. I'm just so surprised. I've never actually made, like, I don't terrain a lot, so I just wanted to brag about this for a bit. I mean, this isn't as great, it isn't as perfect, but it uses the same sort of, it's a lot bigger and rounder over here, but it uses that same sort of texture detailing as over here. Oh yeah, I've got one more thing. Subscribe. Bye bye!